Recasting can be a nasty business for everyone involved, especially if you're the one getting the boot. Directors, producers, and studio heads can be a capricious bunch, and often have a nasty habit of dumping their on-screen talent on a whim. And this is doubly true for horror, where our senses are sharpest and the slightest dip in quality, tone, or believability can make or break a film. I'm Jess from What Culture, and here are 10 horror movie recastings that were awesome. Number 10. Mary Beth, Hatchet. Adam Green's Hatchet series has a lot going for it, including starring horror royalty Kane Hodder and Tony Todd. That is Jason Voorhees and the Candyman if you don't know. And yet it remains so niche that many dedicated horror fans have still never heard of it. With 4 films to its name, a would-be iconic killer in Victor Crowley, and a badass heroine and final girl in Mary Beth Dunstan, the series has nevertheless carved out its own niche in the low-budget horror canon. Anchoring the series, Tamara Feldman played the part of Mary Beth in the 2006 original, but the young heroine didn't come into her own until the 2010 sequel, when the part was taken over by bona fide scream queen Danielle Harris, who starred in Halloween 4 and 5 and Rob Zombie's Halloween remakes. Swinging axes, cocking shotguns, and taking names, Harris brought a steadfast, vengeance-tinged grit and determination to the part, making her a true fighter and ideal opposite for Hodder, thus ensuring the series' longevity. Number 9. Jamie Lloyd, Halloween. Bringing together the twin terrors of Halloween and Hatchet in the horror canon, this recasting is one that many horror fans don't even realize took place. Long before Danielle Harris took on the mantle of Mary Beth in the Hatchet series, she became a bona fide miniature scream queen in the Halloween series, starring as Jamie Lloyd in the 4th and 5th entries. Filmed and set 6 years after Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers, Harris should have been a shoo-in to return to the role as a teenage Jamie in Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers, but forces larger than fate intervened. The studio wanted Harris to reprise her role, yet salary disputes and a shaky script, which killed the character off during the film's first act, saw Harris turn them down. As a result, British actress J.C. Brandy took over the role. While a few of the Halloween sequels are regarded as worthwhile installments to a deeply flawed series in and of themselves, Brandy nonetheless felt right for the part, making a both physically and temperamentally believable Jamie, who, despite being killed so soon, helped resolve the character's arc without leaving a bitter taste in the audience's mouth. Number 8. Danny Torrance, The Shining. Any Shining sequel was going to have an uphill struggle not just in getting made, but in gaining audiences' approval. So it's no mean feat that Mike Flanagan's Dr. Sleep managed to do both while remaining respectfully deferential to Stanley Kubrick's original film. A whole new cast was almost guaranteed to be on the cards, given it had been 39 years between the release of the 2 films, and the original Danny Torrance, Danny Lloyd, had long since moved on from the world of acting to become a university professor of biology. Thus, Ewan McGregor stepped into the fray, bringing with him a wealth of acting experience and talent to help draw out the core themes from Stephen King's book. McGregor's performance is definitely not perfect, as his trouble with accents has always been a sticking point for the actor in every film where he doesn't play a Brit, and yet he brings a quiet gravitas to the role that feels of a piece with the traumatized boy from the first film. Eagle-eyed viewers will, however, spot a cameo from Lloyd at Bradley Trevor's baseball game. Number 7. Tommy Jarvis, Friday the 13th. Few characters have been recast as many times as Tommy Jarvis, and especially not those presented within the same series as continuity. First appearing in the misnomer of misnomers, Friday the 13th, The Final Chapter, Tommy is a child played by 80s teen royalty Corey Feldman, and apparently kills series antagonist Jason Voorhees at the conclusion of the film. Fast forward a few years to Friday the 13th, A New Beginning, and a disturbed and institutionalized Tommy, now played by John Shepard, is haunted by the killer he killed. Once again, he kills the film's Jason. In his third and final incarnation for Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives, Tommy is played by Tom Matthews, and has accidentally resurrected the big guy, almost leading to his own demise. Each Tommy brings something new to the series, tapping into innocence, madness, and a tangible sense of personal redemption as the films progress, becoming not only one of the series' longest surviving characters, but also Jason's de facto archenemy. Number 6. Chucky, Child's Play. Star of Child's Play and all its many sequels, the possessed doll Chucky has become as much a horror icon since its introduction in 1988 as Michael, Freddy, Jason, or Ghostface. It goes without saying that this is of course not a physically intensive role, relying instead on the skills of the voice actor to match Chucky's actions and the sense that he really does harbor a serial killer deep down inside. Famously and iconically played by Brad Dourif, the killer doll was given a new lease on life in 2019, with the franchise reboot simply titled Child's Play. And who better to call upon to resurrect such evil than the clown prince of voice acting himself, Mark Hamill, who's spent a decade honing his maniacal vocal talents as the Joker in far too many cartoons and video games to mention. In his new incarnation, Chucky is a revolutionary high-tech doll with no safety features and no morals, and Hamill mines this for everything it's worth, going from lovable dope to all-out psychopath at the drop of an axe. Number 5. Gomez Addams, Addams Family. Okay, yeah, look, nobody loves 1998 comedy horror sequel Addams Family Reunion, at least not like they love its predecessors. However, following the death of original Gomez Addams, Raul Julia, in 1994, a straight-up sequel was always going to be challenging, given how much fans had loved him for the part. Thus, director Dave Payne recast pretty much every character, dispensing with fan favorites like Christina Ricci and Angelica Houston, and bringing in a new batch of pale imitators. But who could step into Raul Julia's perfectly shined shoes? Surely no one else but the horror and cult film legend Tim Curry. Widely regarded as the best thing about the film by a clear country mile, Curry brought his signature charm, wit, and elasticity to the part, turning in a performance not only worthy of Julia's memory, but in which it felt like it truly belonged within the universe and wider media of the Addams Family. Unfortunately, he only got to play the part this once, as the film was released straight to video, and any hope of a future for the series was shelved. Number 4. Richie, It. Given the gulf of in-universe time between 2017's It and 2019's It Chapter 2, 27 years to be precise, the main cast were predestined to be recast for the sequel. And the director loaded Chapter 2 with a weird and wonderful mix of talent from both sides of the pond, including James McAvoy as Bill, Jessica Chastain as Bev, and of course funny man Bill Hader as Richie. The jury's out on whether all of the adult castings hit the mark, but the one performance that stands strong is Hader's. Feeling like a worthy and apt follow-up to Finn Wolfhard's younger version, Hader manages to bring his trademark humor to the role, but also plays against type when the film requires it. Going deep on Richie's more complex traits and hang-ups, he presents a psychological depth to the character that few of us saw coming when the casting was announced. Though Richie's arc feels complete by the conclusion of the film as he's confronted his sexuality and feelings for his now deceased friend Eddie, he nonetheless takes pride of place in our hearts as the most tragic character of all. Number 3. Michael Myers, Halloween. While David Gordon Green's new Halloween trilogy has been more than a little uneven, each film has offered a new take on the legendary slasher property, bringing us revenge fantasies, supernatural hysteria, and an assortment of new players. What hasn't changed is the looming ominous presence of the film series' big bad, Michael Myers. While 6 actors have played the shape since Nick Castle's first outing in the boiler suit, current incumbent James Jude Courtney has played him the longest, with 3 consecutive films under his belt. Though the man behind the mask is not as important as in other big horror franchises such as Scream, 6'3" Courtney has nevertheless nailed the role in every sense, matching the hulking physicality that fans have come to associate with the character. Courtney has stalked, strangled, and clobbered his way through more Haddonfielders than any previous actor, and yet has also brought a curious humanity to the role, managing to make Myers seem more than just the essence of pure evil, but a real person to be both afraid of and occasionally feel sorry for. Number 2. Alessander, Ouija. First things first, Styles White's Ouija is not a good film. Taking the much feared folklore concept of the Ouija board, allowing spirits to move between planes of existence, and not doing very much with it, the film lacked the plot, depth, or true terror to make such an outing land. Central to the first film's plot is the horrific spirit of Mother / Alice Zander, played by Claudia Katz-Minnick, who sewed her daughter's mouth shut and who turns out not to be the villain, but a kind of evil-looking benevolent presence determined to keep the cursed spirit of her daughter at bay. In horror aficionado Mike Flanagan's 2016 prequel, Origins of Evil, the director decided to go back to the events that cursed the house and its family to begin with. While he could have enlisted Minnick to play Alice, he instead called upon regular collaborator Elizabeth Reeser, who brought a tender, multifaceted performance to a role that could otherwise have been kinda two-dimensional. Whether Minnick would have done as well is anyone's guess, but we can't fault Reeser one bit. Number 1. Victoria, Twilight. Most of us haven't retained names from the Twilight saga beyond the central three, so you may have forgotten all about who Victoria is, which is fine. Introduced in the first film as a member of an every flavor trio of vampires, her slightly murderous coven is torn apart by the Cullen family. Rachel Lefevre took a method approach to the role, imbuing her part with a physicality based on the great predators of nature, and yet she never fully sold the more subtle, dare we say, human aspects of the character, especially when on-screen boyfriend James is killed. Thus, for this or other reasons best known to the money men, the studio chucked her out in the run-up to the character's return in Eclipse. Enter Bryce Dallas Howard. Taking up the mantle of Victoria to become the primary antagonist for the third film, Howard transitioned the character away from feral mean girl to something of a wounded doe, really making us feel her heartbreak and subsequent enmity with the Cullens. While not the best entry of the series from an artistic perspective, Catherine Hardwicke's indie flecked original takes the biscuit on that one, Eclipse was nonetheless the highest grossing of the Twilight movies and helped Howard continue on the path to a long, successful career. Though given her father is Ron Howard, that was never going to be too difficult.